conversation today about medical gaslighting, and it impacts, if not you, certainly someone you know. Still with us is my friend, Emmy-winning E! News host, Keltie Knight. She joins us from Los Angeles. Also in studio is a doctor who not only helps treat the type of anemia that Keltie was diagnosed with, she has experienced herself medical gaslighting as a physician. Dr. Shikha Jain treats anemia, is here with us as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Keltie, I do want to pick up on the fact that here you are in your 40s, you've undergone the hysterectomy, you are recovering, but the emotional weight of feeling that your humanity was taken away and also the impact as a woman of this hysterectomy, I know that there are a lot of tears involved, and I know that that's a part of what you've wanted to share with people.
I think this was one of the most difficult things I've ever done in my life. And what made it so difficult is, again, as women, we are shamed into secrecy. So when I kind of announced to the world, I have to have this hysterectomy, I was very surprised by the amount of people in my own circle and the world that were like, I had the same thing. Here's the pillow you need. Here's what it's going to be like. Here's what it's going to be like to have sex after the, your hysterectomy for the first time. Like, I had no idea that I wasn't so alone in this. Wow. And so that's another reason why I want to talk about it. But yes, it was, Sharon Stone actually is a friend of mine. I know you mentioned her earlier in the show. She told me this is going to be an emotional bomb, and you have no idea what's coming, and it was, for sure.
Wow. Dr. Jain, I mean, here you are a physician, a celebrated physician, and you have experienced gaslighting as well. What is at the heart of this?
I think there's a lot that's at the heart of it. Sometimes doctors don't have enough time to talk to you. Sometimes they don't understand that these vague symptoms that you're having could be due to something. I mean, what Keltie experienced is very common among so many women who come in. They're tired, they're feeling, just run down. They might be complaining of feeling dizzy, and people just say, oh, you've got a busy job, you're not sleeping enough, drink more water, you're emotional.
You're emotional, yeah.
And this is historically the way things have been for years. I mean, back in the olden days, women used to be diagnosed with hysteria.
Yeah.
And that is still very common today.
What happened with you personally?
So with me, I was pregnant, and I was I'm not going to name a hospital, but I was in a hospital, and I was very ill, and I knew I did not need more IV fluids. And I kept saying, I don't need fluids. My blood pressure is normally this level. I don't need this. I don't need this. And they wouldn't listen. And eventually, my mom was with me. My mom was like, you need to say something. And I said, but I am. But nobody believed me, despite the fact I was a physician. And I ended up with complications. And exactly what I was saying was the problem. And I was furious. And then my mom said, you should have called your dad. And I said, because he's also a physician. Right. And I said, but why won't they listen to me when it's my body?
Right. It's true. I laugh because it reminds me when I went to buy my first car. I'm hiding in the car, and my dad went in because the guy was going to listen to my dad and not me. And now your mom is saying, listen to your dad. This type of anemia that Keltie was diagnosed with, tell me more, because honestly, prior to our conversation, I didn't know the staggering number of women diagnosed with a similar thing.
So many women have it. So microcytic means small cells. Anemia means less number of blood cells. And the microcytic anemia that we're describing means you've got a low amount of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is something that takes oxygen to the rest of the body, kind of like an Uber. So it's attached to your red blood cells, and it takes oxygen, and it's what helps you, your organs function. When you don't have enough oxygen being distributed, you can get dizzy, you can get problems with brain function, you can get bruising, you can end up so tired that you can't function at all. And so it can be really severe, and women especially experience it at higher rates than men because we lose blood every month. And some women have disorders where they lose even more blood than an average. And then if you can't keep up with the amount of blood that you're losing, you end up with an iron deficiency anemia or a microcytic anemia where the cells are small and you've got less red blood cells. So your heart's pumping faster, you can get short of breath because your heart is working harder than it needs to be working just to pump blood to the rest of your organs.
I know Keltie had a complete blood panel. I go in every year for my exams or whatever, and I ask for a blood panel, but it seems like there are levels of blood panels, which I didn't know. I'm like, like, give me the basic. But apparently, you know, asking for blood work is no longer enough, which I always thought was enough.
Well, blood work is such
Oh,
a...
look at Keltie's file. This is the file. Right.
There's so many different kinds of blood tests. And the one test I tell all women, if you're feeling tired or having bruises, ask your doctor for a ferritin level.
Ferritin level.
Ferritin level. Because if your ferritin level is low, that is diagnostic of an iron deficiency anemia, regardless of what your red blood cells look like, regardless of what anything else look like. With a low ferritin, you can be diagnosed with an iron deficiency anemia. So write that down if you forget everything else from today.
Ferritin.
Remember that, ferritin.
Ferritin. I'm
That's
going to get
exactly
my
what
phone in
happened
the
to me.
break and write it down. And Keltie, my darling, what were you saying?
That is exactly, hi doctor, that is exactly how I was diagnosed, is that someone finally tested, which is not on the regular panel, ferritin. My ferritin level was 5. It needs to be over 200 for you to be healthy. Lower than 12, they normally put you in the hospital. When that 5 came back, that was when the red alert started, and that's when I started getting help.
Listen, you are
5.
incredible. I'm telling you, I've loved you since the first day we met and we've hit it off. I've been on the podcast, Lady Gang. We talk about all kinds of crazy things on their podcast. I never imagined that it would lead to you saving and helping so many lives. And if you don't believe me, take a look at some of the messages that people have wanted to share with Keltie since she came forward. Let's play it.
This is your hysterectomy sister coming from you from North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I saw your posting on Facebook and it touched my heart because I know what you're going through. You're not alone. I too have been through this and it is a very difficult struggle. The strength that you embody is amazing. Please keep telling your story and staying strong. Your story is all of our stories.
So that is just one of the many people who reached out when they learned you were going to come on the show. I adore you. Please stay strong. Keep telling and sharing this story. Thank you. Give it up for Keltie. Of course, you can watch her on E! News as well as hear the Lady Gang podcast, E! News Monday through Thursday. Check your local listing. Doctor, thank you so much for sharing. We will make sure we put that information up on our social media page. Thank you so much for their time today. We appreciate you.